Today on Radio Chatter, it's legendary frontman Jack Russell from the band Great White. He's out with his own band now, Jack Russell's Great White, and they got a brand new CD called He Saw It Coming. He talks in the interview today about singing on stage and his relationship with Don Dokken and the things they shared back in the day. Sobriety, yeah, he's been sober for a year and a half. Also a story about Axl Rose and what Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses had to do with one of Great White's biggest hits, and much, much more coming up today on Radio Chatter.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
This is Radio Chatter with WRIF's own Meltdown.
I met Jack Russell way back in the day, back in Western New York, probably slightly after the heyday of Great White, but they were still a pretty big band at the time. And I remember the one time I met him, I'm not sure if this is the first time or not, but he took my buddy's motorcycle out for a ride around this horse track where they were playing. This horse race track paid for Great White and a bunch of other bands to play to try to get some younger people at the horse track and, bet on the horses and whatnot. And he took my buddy's motorcycle out for a spin. We talk about that coming up here in a little bit. I saw him a few more times, and there was like this long gap where I just didn't see him. For whatever reason, people do different things in this world and go different directions, and I didn't see Jack again until last year, and we kind of reconnected right here in Detroit at his show. And so anyways, I tweeted him earlier this week, and I'm like, hey, Jack, we got to get you on the Radio Chatter podcast. He said, sure, no problem. So here we are today. Talks about the brand new CD. He saw it coming, and as I mentioned, I've only heard one track on this CD, not for lack of trying or not for lack of caring. It's just the way that things happen to go this week. Plus, he talks about singing on stage and his relationship with Don Dokken. Like I mentioned, he got some funny Don Dokken stories and just a ton of other stuff. Axl Rose, he talks about the new CD and a song on the CD that just brings people to tears and a ton more. So, in the meantime, it's good to have Jack back on the Radio Chatter podcast. Stick around until the end because I have a little teaser for what you're going to hear next week, next Monday, as a matter of fact, on the Radio Chatter podcast. In the meantime, we say, how's things going, Jack?
I've been great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. The new record is out. I saw it coming. And it's funny because I was listening to the single, Sign of the Times, and the record company is sending me the new record. But, of course, I haven't had a chance to listen to it, and my iTunes is all jacked up at home.
Dude, you're going to flip.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sign of the Times is awesome. And then I started thinking to myself, I haven't heard the CD. Maybe I'll just let Jack tell me about it.
Okay, yeah. No, dude, it's well, first of all, let me say it's eclectic, to say the least. I mean, I can't say any better than a reviewer said, and I think this is perfect. He did a review, and he said, I'm sorry, I'm in the bathroom at the marina, and everybody's being really loud when I'm doing an interview. And the guy said, he goes, okay, picture if a band released an album every year for 10 years, and off every album there was a huge hit. And at the end of 10 years, they made one album out of all those hits. And he goes, that's what Jack Russell did.
Wow.
He saw it coming. And I was like, wow, that was a compliment.
Yeah, that's a pretty big, that's a tall order to live up to. The first single, Sign of the Times, the first thing that struck me, and I guess this is pretty obvious, but I mean, your voice is so strong, man. It's almost like, some people never age. Like your voice never ages. How is that?
I'm just blessed, man. You know what I mean? And I had a teacher for like 25 years. And it got to the point where it was like kung fu, when you can snatch the puppet out of my hand, it's time for you to leave, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there was a day he said, in different terms that, time for you to leave. He said, look, I've taught you everything I know. And there's no point in you coming here and me taking, your money from you. He goes, you need to start teaching now. And I'm like, well, I don't really have time, and I don't think it's fair to start teaching and then saying, okay, I'm going on the road for the rest of the year. So I'll see you in a year and we'll continue your lessons, So I haven't started that yet. I got to help people out, like singers on the road. Tell me, man, I sing, and the next night my voice isn't. I'll go, here, look, I'll give them a copy of my warm-up tape. I'll take it in my room. I'll show them how to do it. I'll give them my phone number, call me if you have any problems. And I've had a lot of calls from people saying, dude, this just changed my life. And I go, yeah, I know it does, doesn't it? You know.
Well, your voice,
saved my voice.
Yeah, super strong on this first single. I was like really impressed at how good you sounded. Well, you sounded great last year right here in Detroit at the Token Lounge, man. That was awesome.
Thank you. Wait to hear the rest of the record. I'm not kidding. And I'm not blowing smoke. Everybody, that's like, you're supposed to say that. That's like in the book of rock and roll. Okay, when you have a new record out, tell everybody it's the best thing you've ever done. Mm-hmm. And you feel stupid saying that, but I mean, really, this is the best thing I've ever done. I believe it's obvious why it is. It's the chemistry between me and Robbie Lochner. I mean, me and Mark, we had a chemistry, and it only went so far, and it was kind of like, it was good for a while, but it didn't move forward. It kind of stayed in the same spot, And Robbie's gift is that he knows what I want, and if I hum him a song or tell him, okay, to go like this, or whatever, like what she moves me, that was a riff I had come up with in a lot of the songs. I mean, this is a true collaboration, and I liken it to this. It's like if you're baking a cake and you have a certain recipe, and then you change the ingredients somehow, or you add more vanilla extract, or you put a little more, whatever in. It's going to be a cake, but it's going to be a different cake. And I just happen to think the ingredients of Robbie Lochner, as opposed to the old ingredients, are just better ingredients. I mean, for whatever reason, I worked better with him, and I was really apprehensive. Because I've been writing with Mark and Michael I've been writing with Mark since I was, 17 years old. Mm-hmm. And that's all I've known, except for, a couple of solo albums. But I didn't know how, I didn't know Robbie, so I didn't know if he had good ideas or he was going to come with something like, and I was like, well, that's great, dude. That's definitely going on the record. We'll put that on the inner sleeve as resembling a pile of puke, So, I mean, it's just a different collaboration, and it worked really, really well. I mean, I was floored by how great we write together. And this is the first time I've ever really let anybody, work on lyrics with me. It's like, no, I'll just take this home and finish the lyrics. I have the melodies now. And but this time, we were working at his house, and he'd go, how about this? And I go, dude, that's a really great lyric. And I'm not going to, for the sake of ego, oh, no, I got a stupider line, but, I'm going to use that because it's mine. If he's got a great line, so be it. And if I come up with musical ideas, and he has to go, well, I'm not playing that guitar part because I didn't write it. It's whatever's best for the song and the band is, and that's the way to look at it. You need to use each other's talents, and if one guy's, missing something on a tune, the other guy has an idea, why not? Mm-hmm.
Now,
it's something that I believe in.
This new CD is going to be coming out on a vinyl as well, eh?
It's out, yeah.
It's out, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had a copy of the vinyl the other day, and I gave it to a dear friend of mine who had ordered it through the Pledge campaign, but, they have like 3 months to get that stuff to people. And I think people were expecting it like, waiting for the next day in the mail, and I know it says somewhere in the fine print, I guess, it takes up to 3 months. They have a date to where they're releasing the vinyl, and it's not 3 months, but I think it's in March. And but I happen to have a test copy, and so I gave it to him until he gets his own and to give it back to me. But it's beautiful. I mean, I always do artwork based on like the album size. I don't care if they shrink it down to a CD because I figure, I still want a good cover. Mm. If you have to use a magnifying glass to look at it, I want people to have a really good piece of artwork because, I don't know how old you are, and you don't need to tell me, but I'm assuming we're kind of came from the same era.
Yes.
I'm 56, and
you got me by about 9 years, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay, but I mean, you were around, right, when they have record stores, and you sit there in front of the record store overnight when Zeppelin had their new album coming out, and you'd be like, all right, man, I'm going to be the first one in line, and they'd open the door, and you go running back to the display, and you'd pick up your record, you go, yeah, you'd bring some on your bicycle, and it was like a ceremony. You'd open it up, you'd gently slice the shrink wrap open with a razor blade, and you know, unless it was a double. This is actually a fold-out album. I couldn't believe they went to the expense to do that.
Wow.
And then, you know, the inner sleeve is just black, but it's actually a fold-out album with all the lyrics inside and all the information and pictures. And but it was a ceremony. And, like, I had a little thing on my wall that held the album cover up, and above that it said Now Playing. So I'd take the album out, and I'd put it on the turntable. I'd put the thing up on the Now Playing, you know, rack. And, you know, you gently put the needle down, you know, and you hear that little crackle. And, you know, it's funny because one of the songs we did on the album, we use that for an effect on this ballad, which I guarantee will just pull tears right out of you. And it starts out like that, so it gives it kind of that old-time feel.
Yeah, that's cool.
My God, I talk a lot.
Man, that's all right, man. Hey, it makes my job easier. You know, it's funny because I was watching that Stranger Things on Netflix with my kids, and it's funny because I was watching that, and it's like takes place in 1983, and these kids are like 12 and 13 years old. I'm like, hey, that was me back in those days. And you almost forget about those days, you know?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you go, God, I was that size once.
Yeah.
And I was bigger when I was 13. Well, these kids are so small, you know?
But it's just like looking back at that time and seeing the glasses and the hairdos and the styles on this TV show. And then, of course, you know, I was listening to Great White and Twisted Sister and Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath and all this stuff, you know, just growing up. But, hey, the other night you had a chance to play with Don Dokken, and he actually came out on stage. Talk about that.
Well, you know, Don, everybody has their opinion of Don in the music business, and generally it's not a good one.
Really?
You know, no, I hear a lot of people talk a lot of crap about Don, but you know what? Don Dokken, for me, has been one of my best friends since I started this business. And I'll tell you something, if it wasn't for Don, I don't know if we would have ever got a record deal or ever got a chance. You know, I'm sure we would have, but it just would have taken a lot longer. But Don was instrumental in this band getting signed. He's always been the one I need, and we've written songs together. We've hung out together. I used to stay at his house when he was on tour. I know where to live for a while, and I would stay at his house, and he'd go, okay, here's your room, and he'd give me his room for months on end. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And all the chicks that came over, that you know, along with it. Where's Don? He's not here, but you can, yeah. So we shared a lot, you know what I mean? And he's just a super guy, and I mean, the guy is such a talented songwriter. I mean, he really is. All those songs on the albums, and people think, oh, George Lynch wrote those riffs. No, John wrote the guitar riffs for those. And, you know, and Don is just like, he's a guy that, okay, for example, I can't get him here. There's a song called Wooden Jesus, and we had the riff, and I just couldn't come up with anything for it. And I go, Don, do you got anything for this? And Michael started playing it, and Don goes, down the road in my car, wooden Jesus on my... I'm like, he's just singing all the... I go, dude, stop, wait, whoa. I'll come to your house, we'll work on it. So he showed me a couple parts, and I finished the rest of it. But the guy is so talented. I mean, he's with his melodies. You know, his voice isn't what it used to be, and he admits it. You know, he came down to rehearsal, and then he goes, Jack, because I was singing the old part he sang back in the 80s. And he's all, dude, that's way too high. I go, well, no, that's the root note. He goes, yeah, but I don't sing that low. I don't sing that high. He goes, I never sang that high. I go, dude, yeah, you did. You sang that plus a half step higher. He goes, really? I go, yeah, listen to your records, man. I go, your voice was insane. He goes, well, I don't have those notes anymore. I go, look, let me take the high parts and you sing the lower parts, and it'll be great. My band will fill in the rest. So, you know, he does as best he can. But the fact is, the guy's, you know, Don Dokken, he's a legend. And whether you like him or not, he's still a great songwriter. You know, he's always been nice to me. I call him Dad. He calls me son. But, you know, that shows you how close we are. You know, either that or how stupid he is to me that I'm his kid. You know, I call me his kid.
I picked him up one time at a hotel to take him to the radio station in Buffalo to do an interview, and I was broke and just a kid at the time, and so I used the station vehicle, which was a 1967 hearse. And he walked out of the hotel and he said to me, he goes, I thought I'd only be in one of these things once in my life. So
yeah, no doubt.
yeah, he's always been pretty good to me,
he's
too.
Got a great sense of humor. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He's really funny. We can sit and laugh and tell stories for hours.
Now, when
we do.
Yeah, I believe it. When I saw you last year here in Detroit, one of the first things that you were so proud to tell me about was your sobriety. How's things going for you?
I've been drinking again no, I'm kidding. I've been sober since then. I've been sober a year and a half. I told you when the doctor told me I was going to die, I'm like, I took that really seriously.
Right.
I mean, it's after 5 days in a coma, and you wake up, and doctor says, well, not like you might die, you could die, you may die, you should die, you will die. He goes, the way your wife tells me you drink, which is exactly right. I just drink as fast as I can, as much as I can, then I'm on the floor. And this time, coincidentally, it was with Don Dokken that night. He had come down to borrow something from me, and I said, well, meet me at the Cheesecake Factory. And by the time he got there, I was like 7 sheets to the wind already, if not 9. And so, it was just my last run, and I don't miss it. I have no problem in not drinking because I figure, I'm drinking my issue plus several other people's.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people that can't drink at all. They're so sorry, you can't drink. Why not? Well, Jack Russell drank all year of your issue. It's like, damn, you did? Yep. Sorry, you're not allowed any.
Yeah.
So, I'm just really lucky. I'm blessed. I wouldn't say lucky. I'm really blessed. I mean, God has a plan for me. I've always known that. And fortunately, it wasn't dying then, or other times where I should have been dead.
How was
and this album to me is a testament of why I'm still here. And there's guys I've done interviews that said, yeah, I just got this record and I saw it and I was like, I just let it sit around for a week or so. And I finally got around listening to it. And he goes, I always liked Jack's voice, but I didn't like all the songs he did. And he goes, when I put this on, I couldn't believe it, So, I mean, that's the kind of comments we're getting. We're getting like reviews 9.4 out of 10, 9 out of 10 is the lowest I've seen, besides just one guy who's obviously a Slayer fan, It's like everything it doesn't sound like metal. You can tell he's like dressed like Gore, He gave it a 5. I'm thinking, well, that's cool because I know where you're coming from. I would have gave it less than that. I would have used it as a frisbee if I was you,
Well, I'll tell you, like I said, that Sign of the Times song is killer, and I haven't had a chance to listen to the rest of it, so I'm looking forward to hearing
there's
it.
There's more. There's so much more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so deep, and there's this one song I guarantee because we used to go around. I had this CD player. Can you believe that? Like a little Discman.
Right.
I do my warm-ups on it, and I carry a set of Beats headphones with a splitter. So we'd be on planes, flying to gigs, and we'd just pick some random people. Go, hey, you want to hear our new album? And they go, oh yeah. And I don't care how old or young they were, we'd put it on their heads, and they'd listen to it. And every time they got to this one song, I mean, I've seen grown men just bawling. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. They're, no, can I hear that again? I remember a stewardess Southwest was like, we were in the front row by the bulkhead, and we were playing it for her, and she got to the chorus, and she just threw the headphones down. She ran in the kitchen. You could hear her bawling. And she wrote this note. She goes, I'm so sorry. I just lost my mom recently. And I just, I said, can I finish the song? I go, you really want to hear the rest of it? She goes, oh, yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's
Which track is that?
It's the best thing I've ever done. It's called Anything for You.
Okay.
It's the one that starts out with like it's on an old vinyl, and then it gradually grows into modern sound. But it is just listen to it. I think you'll be floored. If you ever lost somebody you like, see, I wrote it for my wife because she's been sick for like 4 years. And they gave her a 20 to 50% chance of living through the next year. And I wrote it about, what it would be, the thing is, what would you say to a person you love if it was the last thing you could ever say? What would those words be, And if you had to think about it, it would be really hard, Yeah,
I hear you there, man. Well, I'm glad that...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad things are going well for her anyways. I'm assuming they're going well.
Yeah. Well, she's just kind of hovering, I mean, she's had a lot of organ failures, like her bladder's partially paralyzed, her stomach's partially paralyzed. She can only eat so many foods. She's got fibromyalgia. I mean, and she handles it like a trooper. I complain more about a paper cut.
Right.
She complains, I was like, oh, my finger. I'm like, oh, Jesus, Jack, come on. Your wife's, I got all these problems, and I'm all whining about something.
Hey, well, let's...
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, let's switch gears a little bit here, and I don't want to take up too much of your time here because I know you're busy.
I got all the time in the world, man. whatever you can spare is a thing.
Hey, man, I got a lot of time too. But listen to this. Lately, like with the reunions of bands and stuff. And I know you've talked about this ad nauseum with it was your fault that Great White went their own way, and you got issues with the other band members and the whole thing. Looking at a band like Skid Row was talking about it. Of course, there's all sorts of problems going on with the Rats, and the whole thing like that. Like a lot of the bands I grew up watching, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the bands I grew up watching and listening to as a kid, they all seem to, you can't make it last, huh?
No, well, see, here's the thing. If it wasn't for the internet, we'd all be rich. We could all retire. No, I don't mean that. I mean, look at the sports guys. Oh my God, the money they make is ridiculous.
Right.
But I get it because the chance of them having a long career is pretty slim. A lot of these guys go out with injuries. Their first year of pro ball. Your career's over. Now you can be a car salesman, or you can endorse vitamins or whatever else. But as far as playing football, you're done. Mm-hmm. So I get why they command such great salaries. Well, the same thing could happen to a guy like me. My voice could blow out, and I'm done. But with the advent of the internet and downloading, it's like we're having to tour to make money, and it's not the money we used to make. So, I mean, unless you've been one of those really lucky guys that have gotten to that point of the super group to where no matter what you could fart a tune and it's going to be a hit. You know what I mean? Yeah. My next album is called Flatulation. Oh, it's great. I love the way you get that thing going there. And so it's really hard for bands like us to make a living. So you have to tour to make money as opposed to the old days where you toured to support your record. I'm fitting to change all that with this new album. Fitting, I can't believe I said that. It's like Jethro. I just got out of the cement pond. Anyway.
So I just mentioned Guns N' Roses. You're a singer and stuff. Have you had a chance to see this Guns N' Roses reunion?
No, I have not. I actually have a funny story about Axl, if you get a minute.
Sure.
We used to have the same management. Alan Niven was asked by Tom Zutaut from the label to manage Guns N' Roses because they were out of control. So he had us and Guns N' Roses, and we used to always have Christmas breakfast together and do things together. It was kind of a mandatory thing, And I always noticed that Axl was really aloof, and he always looked like he was mad at me, and we wouldn't talk. And one day I went up to him and I cornered him in the bathroom. I said, "Dude, what's your problem with me?" He goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" I go, "Should I?" He goes, "Well, one night when I was first in town, I used to come to see you guys when you're Dante Fox. I thought you were a great singer." I go, "Well, thank you. I think the same about you." And he goes, "Well, I gave you this demo tape, and I asked you to listen to it and tell me what you thought. And you came back to me and you said, your voice is great, but your band sucks." And he goes, "I just hated you for saying that." But he goes, "You were totally right. I just didn't want to hear it, and I've held that with me for all these years, And it wasn't Guns N' Roses; it was another band. And so he goes, "I'm so glad we talked because now I can let that go." I go, "Well, I never knew that, man." And I go, "I'm so sorry. When people ask me something, I just have a tendency to be brutally honest. I don't want them to waste their time if they have talent, Mm-hmm. I mean, if I hear a really good guitar player, and I'm going like, this guy would be great in another band." Or "You're great, but your songs suck," I'm going to tell them, you know what I mean? I mean, people told me, it's like, "Dude, that song's terrible." "Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it?" Come to think of it.
And speaking of Guns N' Roses, it was, I just heard an interview that you and Izzy Stradlin were driving around. That's where Once Bitten, Twice Shy came from. He said you guys should cover this song.
Yeah. And I never even knew that was a song. I mean, I'm going like, "You're kidding me, right? There's a song called Once Bitten, Twice Shy." He goes, "Oh, yeah, and did it." I go, "Really?" But it was an East Coast hit, so nobody out here really knew the song unless you're like a major Mata Hoopa fan, which I just didn't happen to be. I like some of their songs, but I didn't really own a bunch of records. I wasn't into Slade, and I wasn't really into. I just wasn't my thing. I mean, Bowie was as far out as I got.
Yeah, you were like, were you a Steven Tyler, Robert Plant, Zeppelin, Aerosmith kind of guy?
Yeah, well, I mean, the pivotal moment in my life was, the Beatles.
Right.
I've told this story to death, about how I bought, my parents bought me the Beatles Help album, and I had this really godlike moment, and I just knew my destiny from that point on. It was really strange. But, everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. But Beatles and the Beach Boys, it was really weird because I remember looking at my record player to watch the record go around, and I see this Capitol logo going around with the rainbow outside. That was the old logo, I mean, the old plate, the old sticker they had on the record.
Right.
And then there was one day I was watching that thing go around, and my band's name was on. I'm like, holy,
Yeah.
I can't believe this. What a trip. I'm on the same record as same label as my heroes, Beatles and the Beach Boys.
Now, have you had a chance to meet any of the Beatles or the Beach Boys or Zeppelin or anything like that? No, I know Steven Tyler's friends.
I met Ringo Starr. Actually, Jack Blaze was doing one of the solo tours, and I brought my stepson down to see him rehearse at SAR. I go, dude, you got to get me an autograph. He goes, oh, dude, he hates giving autographs. I go, well, look, tell him it's for you. We both have the same name. So he went up, and I gave him a Help album. He went up there, and he goes, hey, he said, oh, sure, no problem. And so, nobody knows it's not for me, except for everybody who's listening. So, I got a signed Beatles Help album for Ringo Starr, one of the remaining Beatles, And I was mentioning Tom Zutaut, and that was at M3 a couple of years ago, and he goes, and Tesla was playing. He goes, you're the reason I signed these guys. I go, what? He goes, don't you remember? I go, no. He goes, you brought me a demo tape of them, and I listened to it, and I signed them. And I went, oh, yeah, I remember giving you that tape. They were called City Kid. And I was so impressed with them when we did a show with them back in the day. They opened up for us in Sacramento. That I went, I gave it to Tom Zutaut, and he ended up signing them. And so I told Brian Wheat this story, right? He goes, yeah, that's what I heard. Me and him never got along ever since I struck him out at softball. we used to play softball every day off.
Right.
Our crew and our band against Tesla and their crew. We won every single game except for one when we played a doubleheader and we were all burned out. And but I struck him out underhand, and he was like a really major ball player, and he was so mad. It was funny, and he still won't talk to me.
Well, I don't know.
Barely say a word.
I wouldn't either. Hey, so wait a second. Hold on. Back up for 1 second. Let's get back to this. So, did you ever get a chance to meet Robert Plant?
You know what? I had an opportunity, and I was sitting outside of his dressing room for like an hour and a half, and I go, you know what, man? There was a party for Black Crowes, and I was like, I'm not going to sit here and wait for this guy. He's going to make me wait this long. And what's he doing? Taking a shower?
Yeah.
Plucking his eyebrows? I go, no way. So I split,
Yeah.
And, I chastise myself for that because he's one of my heroes, But the neat thing is my ex-fiance, she was married to Tommy Aldridge at the time he was in Whitesnake, right?
Right.
And let me get out of here. I'm sure you can't hear all those trash cans and trash trucks and...
You're good.
Idiots. Okay, so anyway, Robert Plant invited Whitesnake out to dinner, all the boys in Whitesnake, except for David Coverdale, just for the sole purpose of making Coverdale pissed off. And we have a chance to rag on Coverdale, how he's ripping him off and all this stuff.
Right.
And then I know this secondhand because my ex-old lady was there at the dinner. And she said, all of a sudden, Robert goes, but you know what? Because that Jack Russell guy sounds more like me than I do. And he wasn't bitching about it. He took it as quite a compliment. So, I'm going, really? He knows who I am? I was just blown away. It was really neat, All
right, well, I'll tell you what, final thing here for you, Jack, because we've taken up a lot of your time here, and I appreciate it.
No problem.
I hear that you might be putting out a book or a documentary coming up in the future. Is that true?
Yeah, I've heard that rumor too. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
No, okay. You're not sure, huh?
But the book part is, well, I know the answer to it. I'm just not supposed to say anything about it just yet. But the book, the book is going to be. I think it was going to be called Dancing on the Edge. But the more I write it, I should be calling. You ain't going to believe this.
That's a great title.
Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Because I read it, and I'm going like, this doesn't even sound real. The stuff I've been through, it's just been incredible. It's been a testimony of miracles in my life, and how. Nothing was going to stop me from being what I wanted to be. Off the record, I'll tell you some stuff sometimes, or you'll read the book. It's just, I've gotten out of stuff that I should have never gotten away with. Horrible things.
I hear you.
I got 8 years in court one time, and I got 11 months.
Wow, man!
For shooting somebody in a drug robbery.
I heard
a long story.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the first time I met Steven Tyler. He came right up to me and goes, "Dude, I was reading an article about you. Is it true that you did?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh my God, Joe, come over here. It's true. It's true." And I'm trying to answer this question, but I'm thinking, here's my hero reading an article about me. I'm like, like Ralph Brandon on the Honeymooners,
That is awesome. Well, they put out that documentary with Quiet Riot and Twisted Sister, and it lives on Netflix, and thousands of millions of people watch it. And one with your life and Great White, and maybe a chance to clear the air. Who knows?
Yeah, I heard they're putting out a book, but it's like, it's just going to be a reinvention of history.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what they've been doing. I don't want to get into all that. It's not about them, but, it just makes me sad. I never thought Mark and I would ever not be friends.
Right.
We've been in each other's lives since I was 17 years old.
Mm.
And at least, we're not in the same band together, which is okay. I wish he could pick up the phone every once and go, "Hey, how you doing?"
Right.
But that's not going to happen, so I've just had to live with that, But like I said, it's my fault. I take all the culpability, and it's just not worth carrying around a bunch of junk,
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, man.
I don't have time for it.
You got a new record out. He saw it coming. It sounds great. You got touring this coming year, and I guess you got a lot of things to fill the void.
Yeah, I sure do. I was just talking to Lita Ford right now. We were talking about getting together, and we're thinking of a name for the tour, and we're planning on writing a song together, and doing a duet on "Save Our Love," and there's a lot of things cooking, and my new band is just fantastic. I would put them up against anybody, and you do me a favor, please. Call me when you hear the record and let me know what you think of it. I would just love your opinion because, I like hearing it from professionals that all they do is listen to music all day long.
Right, I agree.
I would like your opinion. If you find the time and if you feel like listening to the whole album, I know it's hard, but, if you get a chance, you're not going to regret it. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well, I have a road trip coming up this weekend and next weekend. I do have your number. That's why I called you on it. Now we'll text you with my number one day, and I will tell you exactly what I think. So
that would be great. And, don't pull my punches. If you don't like it, say, dude, it sucks.
I'll tell you what, the first song I heard was really good. The first song I heard I thought was great. So, I'm really looking forward to hearing the rest of it.
It's a good opener. There's a lot more to the record, but it's a great first single, and it's absolutely true. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, Jack, I appreciate the time. You've always been good to me from the days back in Buffalo. I don't know if you remember riding my buddy's Harley around the horse race track.
I do. Yeah, of course I do. I was scared to death I was going to dump it. I'd have to start running.
Yeah,
this guy's after me.
Yeah, he was a big biker guy, no doubt about that. But he loved giving me a chance to ride that. Hey, well, listen, Jack, I really appreciate your time, man. Good luck, safe travels, and thank you so much, my friend.
You got anything I can ever do for you, please don't hesitate to call.
All right, brother. I'm going to text you with my thoughts on the record.
Do that, please. Yeah, text me so it's safe, right? All right. It's a sign of the times. All right, brother. I'll talk to you later, man. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, brother. See you later.
You got any time.
What's not to like about Jack Russell? The guy's passionate about what he does. He's got a great project on his hands, and he's, living life one day at a time, doing a great job. Sobriety for a year and a half, good for him, and hopefully hopefully things with his wife get a little bit better. And just all the best out to my old friend Jack Russell from Great White. Hey, coming up for you Monday, 9:30. It'll be downloaded. The brand new podcast featuring one Robert Trujillo from Metallica. That's right. The guy's going to be playing at the Grammys coming up on Sunday night with Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga. James has been having some throat issues and whatnot, but fighting through them over there in Europe and Copenhagen and whatnot. And so, yeah, this is an interview I've had since December. And I couldn't air it for numerous reasons. But finally, Monday at 9:30, Robert Trujillo goes live, WRIF.com, and, of course, iTunes, and subscribe and the whole thing to the Radio Chatter podcast. In the meantime, guys, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for sharing. As always, hit me up on the social media at Meltdown WRIF, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, the whole thing, and we'll do it all over again Monday.
Away!